All right, let's bring in Swati Maheshwari from New Delhi. She's an internal medicine specialist with over a decade of experience in healthcare. Very nice to have you. I have so many questions. The general rule of thumb is that a person can survive about 3 days without water. We're about 100 days since the initial earthquake struck in southern Turkey, and we're continuing to hear people being pulled out. How is this humanly possible?
Yeah, I wish and pray we will hear more and more stories like Adnan we just saw. But humans are a very resilient breed, and I would say with the past experiences that we have seen, that generally, without food and water, a person survives close to a week as well, and sometimes even more. But the important point over here is that situation is much more precarious because it's not just about food and water being deficient over there. What these people are struggling with are, lack of air as well because they are under the debris. Also, the fact, that there would be a lot of internal and external injuries and bleeding that would be happening, and the organs that are compromised. Now, also, we need to understand that we are dealing with freezing temperatures, and also people have a lot of pre-existing medical conditions. They already are in a compromised condition. They might be struggling with a lot of diseases, and suddenly they are in this stress situation. Therefore, as the time passes by, the things might get gloomy. But yes, we do hear such miraculous, escapes as well. And I think that is what gives hope to the rescue workers as well, that they need to continue, digging. They need to continue their work and find more and more lives underneath that. But yes, the important fact out here is that since there are a lot of injuries that happen, invariably because there's a lot of stuff that comes onto you, the concrete building, the stuffs that were around you, the glass panes that break, and they kind of enter the body. And also these people are struggling with a lot of issues, and not just the physical issues. There are a lot of emotional and psychological trauma that they're going through. Now, just as we heard in the story that this boy was motivated, by the noise of his dog. So I think that is what is more important, because a lot of times people are struck with dead bodies around them or their loved ones around them, and they see them struggling or they see them dying, which kind of makes them also start losing hope. So I think that is also one very important factor, that if they're able to hold on to their willpower, and if they are psychologically and emotionally strong in such a situation, they fare much better than the others.
Swati, since you mentioned the 17-year-old boy, his name is Adnan. He spent more than 90 hours, I think it was about 94 hours underneath the rubble. He was rescued in Gaziantep. I mean, it's an unbelievable rescue. Let me play that video for you, and I want to ask you a particular question after that. Let's listen to Adnan. Can we play the? Okay, it seems that we might have had a small mistake there. If we can actually play the soundbite from Adnan after he was rescued, talking about. Okay, let's play that song.
Adnan iyi misin?
İyiyim abi.
Nasıldı, nasıl hayatta
Geleceğin
kaldın?
futbolcusu ya sen fönme
Vallahi
bile
abi
uzanmadın.
kendi tuvaletimi yaptım, tuvaletimi içtim. Hayatta kalmak için.
Şöyle bir şey yapalım.
Böyle hayatta durabildim yani Rabbimin sayesinde.
Ne hissettin aşağıda?
Abi yalnız ya sizin gelmenizi bekledim aslında sadece tek başıma. Siz de geldiniz Allah'a şükür, teşekkür ediyorum hepinize.
İyisin, çok iyi gördüm seni. Aşağıda başka ses geliyor muydu?
Köpeğim vardı abi, onun sesi geliyor sadece.
Anne köpeğin
Geçmiş
sesi
olsun.
geliyormuş
Teşekkür
aşağıdan.
ederim. Bakacağız.
So Swati, he said that Adnan had to drink his own urine. I mean, is that sort of one of the things that can keep you alive? How dangerous is it, and how much does it do to your body in terms of keeping it alive?
Yeah, absolutely. That is one of the means of survival, where you can drink your own urine and fight dehydration that is happening inside the body. But there are two situations, I would say. One, where people who have some space to move around, who can, do such kind of maneuvers and, tide over the time till the rescue team comes over to them. And some people, the other group is where they are buried completely under the debris. They don't have any space to move around. Maybe one or two of their body parts or limbs, are trapped into the debris as well. So these people are in a more precarious situation because they just can't move around as such. And, a little movement as well causes a lot of pain or it causes a lot of discomfort to them. So they are not able to do all these kind of maneuvers. But yes, thankfully, there are people who can actually go around within the limited space that they have, find a little pocket of air, or maybe, you drink their own urine because that is what is all available to them. But yes, as the time passes by, the body goes into the starvation mode, and then the things get start very difficult because, then the ketones and the different kind of toxins that start getting generated in the body, and they might possibly increase the risk of heart attack or organ failure and sometimes possibly death. So that is the crucial thing, is the time that, as soon as we could reach out to these people, considering the challenges that we are facing, I do understand those, but as fast as we could reach out to these people and, they could come out of that rubble and gather some air into their lungs, I think that is something which is very, very essential right now.
Swati, tell me this. What kind of immediate treatment do these survivors get? Because I've witnessed about somewhere between a half dozen and a dozen rescues, successful rescues. They're all being pulled out on stretchers. They're wrapped in some sort of blanket. They're put into a hospital. They're rushed to the nearest medical center. What type of treatments are these people given first? Are they given water or some sort of IV? What's given to them?
I see three things are very, very important when we kind of rescue somebody. First of all is the oxygen supply. So they are generally, put on low oxygen so that whatever debridement has happened inside the body, the deprivation that has happened can be fulfilled, and slowly, the body system starts accepting that oxygen and realizing that they are back into the normal air. Second thing is very important over here is any kind of injuries that are there which are bleeding. So we need to really stop that bleeding which is happening, because that could eventually lead to death as well. So that is something which is very, very essential. And since we are dealing with freezing temperatures over here, restoring the body temperature is also something very, very critical over here, because hypothermia again is a major cause of death in people. So we need to actually, kind of bring their body temperature slowly, slowly to the normal temperature that body has. And the third thing is, yes, of course, we need to give them a little sip of water if we find them in that condition that, they would not choke and it would not, kind of go into their lung pipe or something like that. So we need to be careful about that, because there are a lot of cervical injuries, spinal cord injuries, head injuries that happen during such time. So we need to look at the general condition of the person as to how conscious he is, how, if he or he can accept water at that stage or not. And if not, then yes, definitely the IV fluids is the next resort that we go to, because that is the way we can replenish the water that has been, deprived. And these are the ways that we go about it. Then there are anti-nausea medicines that we require, the painkillers that are required, the antibiotics that are required. And a lot of times these, since they have fractures or compound lacerations and all the other different kind of problems, then you need a lot of these wound supply cares that is required, because you need to kind of tender to them. And also, the fixation screws and the different kind of paraphernalia that we require in the orthopedic branch, because we need to fix these fractures and the different kind of internal bleedings that are happening.
Swati, I'm sure I've certainly realized this, picked up on this, and our viewers around the world have as well. The proportion of babies to the number of people that are being saved seems to be exceptionally high. That is to say that we're seeing a lot of sort of miracle babies pulled out from the rubble. It seems counterintuitive, because infants, toddlers, babies, children, they seem to be, or we're taught to actually give them constant care, but it's them that are coming out in a higher proportion. What is it? I mean, are they more resilient? Are their bodies stronger? Are they able to withstand longer hours of a lack of sustenance? What's going on here?
Yeah, very well said. I think that is one of the foremost reason, that the infants and the children, they are much more resilient than the adults. Secondly, they are able to fight it off psychologically much more better because they've not seen the world. They actually don't know what's happening around or what could be the after effects of this. Because but the adults, they are well aware of the situation. They know what problem they are into it. So psychologically, it plays a lot, on them. And third thing is that these infants and babies, they are not able to move around much because they themselves cannot do that. But whereas the adults, they try to escape or they try to come out or crawl out of such places and all and everything. And sometimes that creates even more problems because then you might have something else falling on you and something. So kind of what we have seen in this kind of disasters is that children and infants, they come out, they survive it much better than what we adults do. And thirdly, of course, the reason that there are a lot of other health conditions that the adults are dealing with. Some might be having blood pressure, diabetes, or cancer, or heart problems, or whatever. So those are actually also pile on them, and that also creates a lot of problem for them.
Okay. Dr. Swati Maheshwari, thank you very much for joining us here on our continuing coverage. Do appreciate it.